Warm welcome to the day 3 of our knowledge exchange workshops. We had 2 fruitful days already. As you know, for those that were participating for both days, first days we are discovering the basic concepts of, let's say, the biomaterials, the 3 main flows that we took, the agri-food flows, the forestry and aquatic, and then we've learned about the biorefining process and about the especially about the challenges coming with small scale biorefining operations. And then we have brought these showcases of all these concepts to the showcases of good practices yesterday. So we had quite a dynamic presentation how people have applied those principles into their businesses actually. So we had some businesses in the making, some quite mature already on the whole, let's say, pyramid of value added through the cascading use of biomass from the top end, you know, the nutraceuticals to the pyrolysis, yes, to the use of pyrolysis oil. It's been quite an interesting journey, and of course this was quite intensive in terms of the contents. So I would just like to underline once more that if you are not able to catch all the presentations so far, you'll be able to do so on the web page of our project, BioRural. We are establishing a toolkit, and actually those lectures that we are attending, those three days will be made openly available at the toolkit part of the web page. And those 2 days are bringing us to the third one, which we are calling the cross-cutting themes. And within that, we have quite important issues to open on the, let's say, on the way from finding technical solutions to successful commercialization. And we are doing this together with 5 excellent speakers of today, to whom I really thank and really grateful that you have taken your time to share your experience. And the first with us will be Blaž Zupan. Blaž Zupan, as you have seen in the program, is coming from the same university as me, University of Ljubljana, but the Faculty of Economics and Department of Entrepreneurship. Blaž has been mentoring hackathons at our faculty for years now. So I think he's quite proficient in the themes that we are covering in our set of expertise, and we thought it's a very good idea, and Blaž was very kind to let's say share his experience as not just as a professor, but also as a mentor, as a business angel, as a founder of some companies with some with his students, some probably different as well, and to compress it into something quite generic, but can be applied then to the commercialization. So you see, the presentation is about the application of the design thinking process, or let's say system, to the new product development. And yes, we're looking forward to your presentation, Blaž. Over to you.
Thank you for a nice introduction. I'm really happy that I'm able to share this important topic with you, because when you do any sort of research, when you do things that you do at your universities or at your institutions, sooner or later you're faced with something that has some some value to others, and you're faced with the dilemma of bringing some new solutions to the market. So let me just share my screen in a second. Okay, so the topic that we'll be tackling for the next 15 minutes is the topic of new product development and how design thinking can help you in making it faster on one hand, and on the other hand being more efficient and successful in bringing new ideas or new solutions or solving problems with some products or services that can be developed into a business venture as well. So as was mentioned in the beginning, for the past almost 20 years, I've been doing this as a mentor, as a professor, researching these topics, but also as a consultant to numerous companies, and as an entrepreneur, having established 7 companies of my own, using this this knowledge and using this the process that we'll be discussing today. Okay, so what new product development actually is? So being able to develop new products actually means that you're able to transform a market opportunity into a product available for sale. So to transform a market opportunity into a product, what you need to do is to obviously develop. Then when you have something developed, test if it works as it's supposed to work. And then you have to consider the viability of these products. What viability means is that this is not a hobby, but this is something that can support itself either by being successful on the market and being sold for a price high enough to cover the costs, or being viable by some other means of financing. So there could be some other sources that can pay for your time and for your efforts when you're developing and then making sure that people use things that you've developed. And of course, it needs to solve, otherwise it's not a new product and it's not a new addition to the market. It needs to solve some undeserved needs of its target customers, because obviously always when you're developing something, you're developing this for someone. You're not just developing something for the sake of being developed, but you're developing something to make this society, to make lives of people around you better, nicer, easier, faster, bringing happiness, bringing efficiency, whatever the undeserved or the unsolved, underserved, unsolved need is. And I'm happy to say that entrepreneurship was once understood as something that has close to no rules and something that has no systems that you can use, but it's more something that creative people do, people who go into new ventures, take risks and so on. However, what we've learned in the past 20 years or so, doing lots of research, looking at how entrepreneurs do things, is that there is a process, there are systems, there are procedures you can use. And if you use those procedures and if you use that process, the probability of developing a good solution becomes higher than by doing it without any processes or without any systematic steps. So there is a systematic way of doing things better. And now we have to first define, obviously, what better actually means. So better means 3 things. It means that what you're doing is desirable on the market. So there is someone who benefits from your solution. What better means is that whatever you're doing is feasible, so it can be done. It is something that there is a technology, there are no obstacles on the regulatory front, there are no obstacles on the legal side to do this, what you're aiming to do, and that it is viable so that it can support itself. It's not something that you will always need to gather more funds for research, and that you will be dependent on governmental money, but it is something that can support itself, either by being sold to end customers or by being financed from another reliable and long-term source. Okay, so when we're talking about better solutions or when we're talking about good ideas, this is something that you need to keep in mind. Whenever you're discussing with someone, whoever that is, whether an idea is good or not, you need to keep in mind there are 3 characteristics or 3 rules that you need to follow, and these are the 3 rules. So when you're discussing whether an idea is good or not, what you actually need to be discussing is if there is someone who will benefit from what you're doing. Is this something that can be done, and how can it be done? So what is the technology behind it? What are the rules and regulations behind it? And if what you're thinking about is something that can support itself. So it's not a hobby, but it's a business. And this is the process. The process is quite straightforward. It's nothing out of the ordinary, and it's something that you probably use, at least to some extent, quite often. However, being methodological and being really strict, adhering to this process is something that's quite hard to do, even from my own experience. I've been doing this for 20 years. When I first saw this, I thought, well, this is nothing special. Of course, we do things in this way. But when I was looking back at how we actually did things, I saw that there were quite some instances where we thought we were doing things under this methodology, but in fact, we were jumping around and doing things in an ineffective, inefficient way. So what the design thinking methodology teaches you is that whenever you're faced with a hard problem, with a problem that has no apparent solution, the first thing that you're supposed to do is to really understand the problem that you're trying to solve. So if you come home and you're faced with 10 centimeters of water in your kitchen, this is a problem that is a complex problem, a problem that hopefully you've never faced before, and a problem that needs at least 10 seconds of your attention to understand what in fact is happening. You know, just pumping water out of your kitchen probably is not the most efficient way to approach this problem, because what you will learn when you take 10 seconds, in this case, to better understand what's going on, what you will learn is that you need to redefine what the problem actually is. And you need to bring this problem down and divide it into several different problems. So you might have one problem, which is that there is a pipe that burst under your sink. So you have a burst pipe, and that is one of the problems you need to solve. Second problem is that now you have a kitchen sink that doesn't work. So you need to solve the problem of a kitchen sink that doesn't work, okay, working sink. The third problem that you have is a problem of 10 centimeters of water in your kitchen. The fourth problem is that probably the chairs and the closets and whatever you have in your kitchen that is made out of wood needs to be dried, okay. So you have at least 4 problems and not one, which you might think is a problem when you first saw the 10 centimeters of water. So by taking your time to understand what in fact is happening, you, in 99% of cases, what you end up with is a redefinition of your problem in a way that you divide your problem into several different smaller problems which you need to solve. And then you're looking for solutions to each of these smaller problems. You're not looking for a solution to this problem that you were faced at the beginning, but now you're looking for solutions to this specific, much more specific, and much more problems that are easier to define and then to search solutions for. So you get a hierarchy of problems you need to solve. So for instance, obviously we'll solve problem number 1 first, and then probably problem number 2, problem number 3, will be second, and then problem number 2 will be third, and so on. And then you search for solutions to these specific problems. You start with problem number 1, and you search for solutions with different processes, brainstorming processes, and so on. And then when you have several ideas, you choose the idea that you think would be the best fit to the problem that you have, and then you prototype this idea, this solution for this problem that you're currently solving. So for instance, you would be repairing this burst pipe on your own, and you will see that that doesn't go well. And then the second idea would be to call a professional, and then the professional would come and that prototype would work. You would test by opening the main valve, and the sink is now repaired, and you can use your kitchen again when you solve the problem of 10 centimeters of water. So test is successful, and then you go back, because what each test is, it's nothing else than an opportunity to understand things more. So then you go and solve another problem and so on. So this is actually a circle, and you're running around this circle for as long as possible until you solve each of these problems. And by doing that, you will solve the initial problem you have there. And this can be applied to your personal life, to your relationships. If they don't work, this is usually a set of many problems that you need to solve. Or to a business perspective, for instance, if you're developing a new product, a new solution, you have several things you need to solve, and not just one, which are the physical characteristics of your solution, what the price will be, where it will be sold, what the packaging will be, and so on and so forth, who the target group is. So you need to redefine the problem, which is not develop a new product, but which is then the characteristics of the product, the packaging, the target audience, the communication, and so on and so forth. And then you go on solving each of these problems separately. And why I said that understand is the first phase, because without data, you're just another person with an opinion. And there are more than 8 billion opinions about almost everything in this world. The problem with opinions is that most likely they're wrong. So when you have opinions about this world and about things, how they should be, especially if these are problems that you never solved before, probably your opinions are wrong, right? So that's why we are doing lots of data gathering, lots of research through interviews, through an ethnography, through focus groups, maybe surveys, to understand the problem that you're trying to solve. And this is the main issue that design thinking is helping you with. To solve the problem, because understanding your problem is actually half the solution, and we are using about 1/3 of time that we have to develop a solution usually on understanding. And this was one of the issues that I was mentioning before, that we understood the design thinking process. However, we never really took our time to understand the problem that we're facing with. These are different tools to understand things. You probably used some of this in your past. You are probably using this much rarely, because they are a bit more complex, but they're extremely good methods to get data based on which you can make better decisions, more informed decisions. Okay. So the second part of design thinking process, which is really hard to do systematically, is this part. So prototyping and testing. If you're a researcher, this is something that you're born with, let's say. So you always test things, which is great. That's why I found out, and that's why we saw that being a researcher is a great starting point for being an entrepreneur. Because you're used to gathering data, you're used to prototyping, you're used to testing things, you're used to making decisions based on data that you got from your experiments and so on. So this is a great starting point to be an entrepreneur. Being perhaps on a more introverted side doesn't matter. The best entrepreneurs come from both people who are introverted to people who are extroverted, and this plays absolutely no role if you look at data, if you look at research, in how successful you can be as an entrepreneur. So how successful can you be at bringing new solutions to the market? So to recap what we were discussing in the past about 15 minutes. So new product development actually is, if you look at the design thinking process, it's understanding who you are developing this solution for. It's prototyping as much as possible and testing whatever your hypothesis about the solution is, testing your hypothesis as much as possible. And then basing your decisions about characteristics, about how this product should look like, where should it be sold, basing that on data that you got from your experiments. And we discussed and we said that being a researcher is a great starting point, because you're used to these things. And looking at some of the best companies, startups that I've mentored and that I've seen, usually this is a team of 2 people. One is a very good researcher, wants to deal with data, wants to do experiments. It's not a people's person. in many cases, but can be, of course, as well. And another one is a person who likes to go out, who likes to go to meetings, who likes to sell things, and this is a perfect match. So, being a researcher and understanding what we just discussed and living this and doing this is one half of a perfect entrepreneurial team. And obviously, the best products and the best companies are always done in teams and very rarely done by just one person. Okay, so this was my message for you today. There will be some additional resources shared for you as well, so you can dive deeper into the discussion that we just had. Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Blaž. As Blaž has mentioned, the presentations that will be also available for you have got the last page with some resources, because what was yes, in 15 minutes we can just get some flavor of for instance, in this case, the design thinking as useful and versatile approach towards bringing us to the drawing board, of starting our businesses. And it's a good point, and thank you for comforting the researchers in the classroom that it's not a desperate situation for us, that actually we are able to start that as well.